almost 30 years, a small television station in Central Texas has been home to one of the most bizarre programs in broadcast history. That program is Chester Grimm's Mausoleum. Since its debut in October 1984, the show has achieved an almost cult-like status. Much of the success is attributed to the host, Chester Grimm himself, portrayed by Percival Snipe. But little is known about the man who wears the skeleton hand gloves. Before he was a TV star, he pounded the pavement in Washington, D.C.
I was working as a political liaison in the 60s and early 70s. It really wasn't my cup of tea, but, well, it kept the bills paid. I was thinking about giving it all up, and then one day I met President Richard Milhouse Nixon. And then shortly after that, I met Elvis Aaron Presley. And believe it or not, a few months later, I ran into both of them together.
Chance meetings with celebrities like Elvis began to make Snipe rethink his vocational choices. It wasn't long before he became bitten by the showbiz bug. After a few phone calls, a friend of a friend made contact with a second cousin, and it just so happened that cousin's neighbor was able to get Percival his first job in broadcast television, an entry-level position at KZTX-TV, Channel 37, near Biloxi, Texas.
I came to work at the station in 1976. I was enthusiastic enough about the process to take any job behind the scenes. I just loved learning about television and what made it tick.
After spending time familiarizing himself with TV production, Snipe convinced station owner Stuart Smalls to let him try his hand at hosting his own series.
Well, Stu wasn't sure about it at first, but I was quite the angler. And we needed an outdoor show, so that's when Percy's Fishtails was born.
Shot on and around local bodies of water, with Smalls himself acting as videographer, the show premiered in May of 1979. It was an immediate hit. Fans from all over the Tri-County area tuned in to Percy's Fishtails each and every Saturday afternoon. Things were going well for Snipe, but unbeknownst to him, tragedy was about to strike. Tonight's episode of Memoirography brought to you by Econotop Frozen Pizza. When you're hungry for pizza, reach for Econotop. It will tide you over until you can find a real pizza. Now, back to Memoirography. Percival Snipe was riding a wave of success with his popular fishing program, but that ride was about to get bumpy.
The show had been on for a year and we started getting endorsements. I had just signed on as the face of Berkeley Trilene, and Mr. Twister began marketing Percy's Prawn, an artificial fishing lure.
To celebrate their windfall, station owner Stu Smalls decided to produce a series of special episodes shot in the Gulf of Mexico.
Now, Stu wanted a 4-part saltwater series. I personally prefer freshwater fishing, but he was in charge, so we chartered a boat, and that's when we met Charlie.
Charles' Uncle Charlie Boudreaux was a well-known fishing guide. His boat, the debaucherous Jew whore, sailed the Gulf for decades.
I had just hit something big when a swell hit. It caused Charlie to fall right into the chum buckets. He stood up, his face covered in blood and fish entrails. He had the biggest smile on his face. Oh, he was cackling hysterically.
But the laughter wouldn't last long.
It was the biggest great white shark I had ever seen. It leapt right over the boat and grabbed Charlie like he was a rag doll. It flopped around on the deck for what seemed an eternity. I was afraid it would sink us. Poor Charlie was bisected just below his sternum. The shark fell back into the water with his upper half.
The whole horrifying event was captured on video by the show's camera crew.
And now, this is when things get strange. We were about to carry Charlie's body below deck when we hear a sound, like something crawling up the side of the boat. And then we saw an odd-looking creature, a Ginny Hanover, I believe it's called. It scuttled across the deck and grabbed what was remaining of the body. I swear to you, for a moment it turned and scowled at us. And then it jumped the railing and landed into the ocean.
The whole unbelievable event was also captured by the show's camera crew. This shocking video evidence was the only reason Snipe and the others were cleared of any wrongdoing by authorities. The Boudreaux family sued KZTX in civil court. While the judge denied any type of monetary settlement, all footage of the graphic shark attack and subsequent cryptozoological activity was ordered destroyed, never to be seen by the public. When we come back, new programming and new challenges for Percival Snipe.
Howdy ho, y'all. I've been shouting it from the ding-dang rooftops, far and wide, over hill and over dale, and if I'm a lying, I'm a dying. They ain't a critter on God's green earth that sucks air that's as fuzzy, warm, and scrunchy snuggly than a fistful of cheaping pullets. That's right, pullets. And ain't a better place on this spinning blue planet than Idiot's Pullet Shack to stock up on them pretty little puff balls. Pullets! Well, you must have heard the call, 'cause we can't keep the wee yeller hen chicks in stock. No, sir. Pullets! But fear not, ye pulletless brethren, 'cause not only did we just restock our pullets, we just got in a whole by God Noah's Ark's full of new feathered livestock. And they'll make your friggin' eyes bug out of your swelled up melons, by God. Pullets! We got spangled drongos, wampoo pigeons, wandering tattlers, short-legged ground rollers, titmouse, tufted titmouse, agile tit tyrants, fluffy-backed tit babblers, penduline tits, wren tits, my cousin Molly's tits, yellow-bellied sapsuckers, shy mollymoths, white-capped noddies, peacocks, peahens, willy wagtails. Hey! Your brain will just put near explode trying to make a decision on what to bring home with you, so you might just as well get them all and let them sift themselves out. Them tit tyrants will kill and eat half the others in no time anyway, and there's you a viral video by cracky. Pullets! And with every order, get gratis a bag of brackets and a sack of sprockets. That's right, sprockets! Pullets! So jump on your spavined-legged pony and whip galloping on down to Iliad's Pullet Shack. We'll load you down with beautiful beaked beasts and tell you stories that'll turn your hair snow white. Pullets! Oh my God, I got haints and hoodoos swimming in my brain pan, fighting for the controls. Pullets!
After a near-death experience in the waters of the Gulf, television host Percival Snipe decided to end his popular fishing program.
It was the most difficult decision I ever made in my life, but I knew that after what I had witnessed on that boat, I could never hold my rod in my hands again. Oh, Stu was furious. He went on a wild drinking binge and wound up in the studio. He bulk erased every episode of Percy's Fish Tales. Now all we have left of that show are the memories.
Months passed, and eventually the dust settled. In early 1981, KZTX and Stu Smalls were ready to try again with Snipe.
The fallout from the fishing show was very damaging to my relationship with the station. I knew anything I did next would have to veer totally in a different direction. I feel that my talents as a television personality are quite versatile. That being said, I felt to me a children's program was the next logical step.
And that next step was Uncle Doodle's Tickle Town, a brightly colored exercise in music, magic, and public domain cartoons. Starring Snipe as Uncle Doodle, the show featured a mischievous cast of puppets, including the aptly named Pootie the Coon.
Oh dear, how I loved Tickletown. Oh, working on that show was a joy, a pure joy, plain and simple. Oh, how I loved walking into the studio, putting on that big old hat with the sunflower on it. Oh, well, those were the good old days.
In the local ratings, Uncle Doodle's Tickletown consistently beat the syndicated competition, which included Romper Room, Giggle Snort Hotel, and The Great Space Coaster. The only program with more viewers was Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, airing across the country on PBS. But that would change some 26 months later.
I was home one evening when I got the call, and let me tell you, it was not expected. I had been seeing the projections from the Nielsen's, and that we were slowly overtaking Mr. Rogers. I never expected to get a call from the man himself congratulating me.
Always the consummate gentleman, Fred Rogers phoned Snipe, offering kudos and some words of advice.
Keep in mind we were a regional program. Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood was national. We had only beat him for a few weeks, and just in our own territory. I've never fully disclosed what he said to me, and I never will. I will say this, however. God bless you, Fred Rogers. You were a king among men. I mean that. I truly do. Generations of children grew up to be better citizens because of that man. I do think we had better puppets, though.
It was somewhat official. Uncle Doodle had a fan base that was growing by leaps and bounds. Stu Smalls saw a window of opportunity and began airing a special live edition of the show on Saturdays, complete with a studio audience filled with screaming children.
I hate to use the term jump the shark, simply because of what happened to poor Charlie Boudreau. It seems insensitive. However, I do feel the show did jump the shark when Stu insisted we go live on Saturday mornings. The kids were on edge and cranky because of the 6 a.m. call time. Most of my puppeteers were alcoholics, and hangovers don't mesh well with performing live. I sensed that it was only a matter of time before things started to fall apart. And sadly, I was right on the money.
By offering free tickets to a live children's television taping, KZTX opened a can of worms too big for even Uncle Doodle himself to snap a lid on.
We had a good mixture of children in the beginning, and then the parents became too lackadaisical to bring them in on time. Or at all.
To help make up for the lack of children in the audience, Stu Smalls made a deal with the now-defunct Hell's Gate Sanitarium, a local institution that housed the mentally handicapped.
Before long, the bleachers were filled with moaning, drooling, misshapen masses of humanity. Poor little bastards. That's also when the pedophiles began to show up. Well, at least the less choosy ones.
Scandal erupted when Bertram Leopold Nelson, one of the so-called less choosy pedophiles, stripped naked as the cameras rolled and began to vigorously grope and hump members of the audience.
That nude molester was the straw that broke the camel's back. I can't speak about what I did. Let's move on.
A lifetime gag order prevents Snipe from discussing the events of that Saturday morning in 1983. Court documents, however, show that he beat Nelson severely on live television. Uncle Doodle's Tickletown was forced to shut its doors. When we come back, more of the ups and downs in the life of Percival Snipe, host of Chester Grimm's Mausoleum. Tonight's episode of Memoirography brought to you by Oscar Carrizales Chorizo. My chorizo has a first name. It's Oscar. My chorizo has a second name. It's Carrizales. Oscar Carrizales has a way with Chorizo. Now, back to Memoirography. One host, two successful programs, both derailed before their time because of accidental death, mismanagement, perversion, and violence. It is May 1983, and Percival Snipe was ready to quit the business he loved.
I was finished. No more television. I packed up my office, I shook Stu's hand, and I walked right out of that station.
Ready to ply his trade elsewhere, it wasn't long before Snipe received a phone call from a talent scout in Los Angeles.
I was gobsmacked. Appearing on the silver screen was a gossamer-draped fantasy of mine, and finally my dreams were about to come true.
After flying to Hollywood and auditioning for the director, Snipe was cast in the role of Miyashima in the Golden Globus production of Ninja 3: The Domination. Things proceeded smoothly as shooting commenced, but a few days into the job, Snipe fell horribly ill.
Oh dear, I was running at both ends like a broken faucet. I had one bucket in my hands and another under my buttocks. I simply couldn't recite any dialogue. Damn you, craft services. Damn you straight to hell.
Snipe had mistaken and erroneously placed abrasive cleansing pad for a slice of meatloaf. The innocent faux pas cost him his role in the film. Producers had no choice. They were forced to recast with veteran character actor James Hong as Miyashima.
I was broken-hearted when I heard they had to recast. Oh, but I love Jimmy Hong. Always have and always will. And did you know they cast him as David Lopan in John Carpenter's Big Trouble in Little China? Have you seen that one? Oh, it's a dandy.
Although he was no longer a featured performer in the film, after recovering from his illness, Percival became close friends with the stunt coordinator, who decided to use him in a few scenes as Ninja Number 2.
When I got well, I was at 150%. And that's when they let me play Ninja 2. I've never been ashamed of my athleticism, or the fact that I look great in a Shinobi Shizuko.
Although his involvement was small, it didn't stop him from making an impression on Lucinda Dickey, the star of Ninja 3.
Ah, Lucinda. What a gem she was. Oh, beautiful, talented, and what a firm, muscular derriere she had.
When the film wrapped, Snipe was approached by a production assistant to take the lead in a student thesis project he was working on. Langoustine was the story of hideous mutant Norway lobsters wreaking havoc on a small coastal town.
Langoustine was a nightmare. After Ninja 3, I was accustomed to the tight scheduling and efficient shooting of a Golden Globus production. But this was a student film, and it was proportionately horrendous.
Despite his misgivings, Snipe finished shooting the project. Exhausted, he returned to his home in Texas, where he decided to throw in the towel.
I received a few calls, but I just wasn't interested. No. I took a cue from the great Kevin Van Hintenrich, star of Basket Case. I immersed myself in art, sculpting, painting, even crochet.
Several months passed. Ninja 3 opened on September 14, 1984. Overall, the film did well, ranking number 93 at the box office. One of the people in the audience that opening weekend was Stuart Smalls, Snipe's former boss.
Stu called me. Now, keep in mind, we hadn't spoken in well over a year.
After exchanging awkward pleasantries, the two men began laying their history out on the table. One thing was clear. KZTX needed Percival Snipe, and for all intents and purposes, Snipe needed KZTX as well.
It's summertime, true believers, and it is hot. And so are the savings at Red Marmoset Wine and Spirits. Between now and July 4th, everything in the store is on sale. Outside, the temperatures continue to rise, but inside, prices are falling like elderly gardeners suffering heat stroke. Walk, don't run, pace yourself, and drink plenty of fluids. Fluids you can buy right here at Red Marmoset Wine and Spirits. We got it all, and much, much more. The deals are scorching. The shirt-tongue Sailapalooza is hotter than Kaylee Cuoco in a pair of fajita panties. and crazier than a coked-up Andy Dick wearing a cockroach sweater in Arkham Asylum. Red Marmoset Wine and Spirits, now open at 8 a.m. on Sundays. We can't sell alcohol till noon, but let's face it, everybody needs something to look forward to. God bless America. Hey, Hugly Espanol.
After spending more than a year away, Percival Snipe returned to KZTX television. This time, the format and his character would change dramatically.
We decided on a horror program, but we had to move quickly. We only had a few weeks to get the show ready in time for Halloween. What can I say? We did it! Hee hee!
The result of their labors was Chester Grimm's Mausoleum, with Snipe firmly behind the reins as the host, the lovable, albeit slightly insane, licensed embalmer, Chester Grimm.
Chester Grimm! Ooh. I can honestly say it's the role of a lifetime, yes. And we've been doing this show for nigh on, oh my goodness, it's been nearly 30 years. As a matter of fact, October 31st, 2014 will mark our Pearl anniversary.
Over the years, the show has featured an eclectic cast of supporting characters. One of those was a holdover from Uncle Doodle's Tickletown, Pootie the Coon.
I happen to have the original Pootie right here. Hello, you silly old coon. We kept him around for a few episodes, but for some reason our black viewers were offended. So we hung him out to dry. That smelly old coon was never heard from again.
Other original cast members included Rondo McGrabe as Omar the Hunchback and Abraham Wormstein in the role of Chester's passive-aggressive sidekick, Mr. Wormser.
Rondo is an absolute doll, but a bit of a method actor, which makes it kind of difficult dining in fancy restaurants. Abe, on the other hand, very much a free spirit. As a matter of fact, I haven't seen him since we wrapped our last episode.
Chester Grimm's Mausoleum ran at midnight each and every Friday. Despite averaging only 4.89 new episodes a year for the last 29 years, it remains a highly profitable and successful program, something its hardcore fans will attest to.
I've personally been into the show as long as I can remember. And as a matter of fact, I got to meet Percival Snipe once.
You know, I actually remember that. That was the night that I had to stab you in the heart and kill you, sacrifice you to that demon guy. Yeah. Aren't you supposed to be dead?
No, I got there.
And the show keeps getting better as well. With each new season, production values have increased. Sets are more elaborate, the crew has gotten larger, and so has the cast of irreverent mausoleum dwellers. In recent years, fans have come to know and love Eileen Huckabee as the beautiful Chantilly, Michael Levesque as Nibsy the Mouse, and Raz Bricker as the diminutive Tiny Marvin. Snipe promises viewers even more new characters in the future.
Oh, yes. We'll be adding to the menagerie soon. There's Belphegor, the French phantasm, Nanny McArdle, the nosy neighbor, and one that we've got high hopes for, Pootie the Mapache.
There are very few programs in television history with the longevity of Chester Grimm's Mausoleum. One has to ask, what exactly is the secret to Percival Snipe's success?
Let me tell you something. When I met Elvis, he told me to never give up. And since then, I've had the opportunity to shake it up with other celebrities. Michael Jackson, Loretta Swit, Vincent Kennedy McMahon, even Patrick Warburton. And you know what? Each and every one of them told me the exact same thing. Except Michael Jackson. He kept asking about Uncle Doodle's Tickletown.
From his humble beginnings as a political liaison to chasing his dreams on TV and the silver screen, it can truly be said that Percival Snipe has done what very few individuals have. He grabbed life by the throat, and much like the late Patrick Swayze in Roadhouse, he tore it right out. Thank you for joining us on this episode of Memoirography.